Welcome everyone to another episode of the JSB Gamescast. I am your host Rob, aka Zen. Joining me today we have Drew. How are you?
I'm here. Happy Death Day for the 3DS and Wii U today. Well, as of this recording, it is the final day of the 3DS and Wii U eShops. By the time you're hearing this recording, it's too late. Sorry, we should have put out like some sort of tweet or something, but in T-minus 2 hours, those shops will be dead. So I am remorseful. I am saluting an old friend. You know, the 3DS is a very important console to me. It's probably my favorite handheld, and you know, it's a sad day.
It's a sad day. But to brighten up our day a little bit, I hope, we are joined by Asher once again. How are you, sir?
Hi, I'm here to brighten up your day.
You are here.
I did not know I was here to do that, but apparently here I am.
I didn't know either. I didn't know that we were saluting a fallen comrade. So, you know.
I like to believe that the spirit of the DS and the Wii U would want us to celebrate the occasion, not mourn it.
Yes, celebrate it.
But maybe I'm too much of an optimist.
Possibly.
I'm doing all right. I'm saddened that I haven't been able to get as much from those eShops as I want to, but such is life.
Yeah, it kind of be that way sometimes, you know? Ryan is out this week. He's going to be out for the next 2 episodes, dealing with some life stuff. And then Lewis is also out on assignment. One day he will come back from his assignment and he will tell us all the video games that he has been playing. It's just going to be a 3-hour show of just Lewis just losing his mind over video games.
Without a doubt.
So stay tuned for that at some point in the future. Yeah, it's for me, it's been a very busy week. This was the week of PAX East in Boston. I did attend it. It is a 4-day event, which I feel like previous PAXs that I went to were 3-day. I think they tacked on an extra day recently. And I only attended 3 days, so I did from Wednesday to... Oh, I'm sorry. I did Thursday to Saturday, and then I came back today, which is Sunday of recording. But usually not a lot goes down on the final days of cons. If anybody is a con goer, you kind of know. But had a really good time. I'll get into it in a little bit here and talk about all the games that, you know, I got to see, I got to play, I got to enjoy. I came back with so much swag, y'all. So much free swag. Like, I'm just going to throw lanyards at people through the screens and through your earplugs. Take these FF16 lanyards from me. I have too many. I'm drowning.
I'll take some.
Yeah. All right.
Let me get a few.
You got it. Absolutely. I already gave Asher 3. I'm gonna give him 3 more. Drew, you can have 6. It's great. Take them off my hands. I got some pins for y'all too. If y'all want some pins, just let me know. But yeah, while I collect my thoughts on what I want to talk about with PAX, because I'm also kind of tired.
I don't know how you do it,
dude. I don't know how I'm still going. Actually, I'm actually operating probably on like 2 hours of sleep, if I was to be 100% honest.
You know, you could have slept. We could have like waited a week. It would have.
Nah, man, my memory is bad, so I would rather talk about this while it's fresh. Then I don't have to like think super hard about what was that PAX.
He's got grandpa memory.
Yeah, I really do. Actually.
He legitimately does.
I legitimately do have grandpa memory.
Oftentimes I have to remind him of.
He likes natto.
I do like natto. This is confirmed. I am just an old.
So he's just an old man.
I'm just an old man. So yeah, let's start off with some video games. Drew.
Yep.
I want to start with you. What have you been up to?
Since last recording, I have finished Vernal Edge.
Oh.
As you know, I spoke very positively of Vernal Edge last week. And that stays true. That game is amazing. I feel like my final thoughts, especially after having sat on them for a while, is that game. And it's early on in the year, but that game is contender for like game of the year for me. It might be my indie game of the year. That game was incredible.
That's pretty awesome.
It really came out of nowhere, and just like I was expecting to have a good time because I was already aware of like how the combat worked and everything. I'm like, all right, this is gonna be tight. It's gonna have some pretty sick combat. Gonna be Metroidvania, like 100% my bag. And then like the more I played it, the more I'm just like, this game is so sick. And like it really is a very special game. The game had some like really good storytelling, surprisingly. Like I really wasn't expecting that from the game.
Mm-hmm.
I normally don't for Metroidvanias. Like very rarely do I expect like solid storytelling. And like it's a bit few and far between, but like what's there is like really good interactions, and I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
And like it led to a really satisfying final boss, I feel. And I really, really enjoyed that game. I know they were at PAX. I really recommend that everybody play that game because it really is something special. And like those kinds of games feel fewer and far between, to me at least. Like it is just a game, and Rob and I will have this conversation a lot where I just tell Rob, I'm like, Rob, I need a game to specifically hit me like this. And like Vernal Edge was that. So I cannot recommend that game enough. It really blew me away by how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
And in its place are two more Metroidvanias that I now have to play. This week, what is it? Have a Nice Death and 9 Years of Shadow are out. So like, cut off one head and two more shall take its place. Like, I can't fucking deal with this, man. So I will have more indie games to review for you all. I am trying to make it more of my mission to put a spotlight on like more indie games that catch my eye and talk about them more, because I feel it's important that these games are talked about because they fall under a lot of people's radars, and you'll really miss something special like Vernal Edge. Yeah. So I really want to shine more of a spotlight on these games. I will warn you, they'll probably be more Metroidvania related, but that's fine. We have many of our venerated games casters who like a plethora of genres when it comes to indie games, Rob especially. Yeah. So don't worry. But I do want to make it more of a, like after visiting Vernal Edge and being reminded like, hey, these games can really be something special. Like I definitely can't wait to check out more games like that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love that. Vernal Edge had a spot at PAX and had quite a few people around it, which was really nice to see, honestly.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, it seems like that game is being received pretty well.
Yeah, like I said, it took me by surprise, and I could not believe how good it was. So I will probably double. Physical version's already been announced. I will probably double dip once it comes out,
nice.
Just so I have it. But yeah, no, go play Vernal Edge. It's great. I think it was like I think the launch sale's over, but it's like $20, and that's a good deal. If anything, it's $25. Still a good deal.
Absolutely.
So that's Vernal Edge, and I still haven't beaten Fire Emblem Engage because after beating Vernal Edge, my plan was to play Fire Emblem, and then I played Strive instead, or attempted to play Strive. Netplay is still fucked, unfortunately.
They're still working through it.
And I understand that there's going to be growing pains versus this whole crossplay thing, but man, they need to hurry up. Otherwise, this is going to make Street Fighter 6 look real appealing to some folks.
I mean, true. But also, like, Strive's not going anywhere. Let's be real.
It's not. It's
You
not.
know, like they'll fix it, and I'm sure in the next couple weeks, and it'll be like nothing ever happened.
It's frustrating in the moment now because
for
like
sure.
I do want to play it, and like I'm trying to actively like play a little bit each day just so like I can learn a little bit more. And like I've got maybe 2 matches today before I just gave up. So that's still happening. What I ended up really sinking some time into, not as much as I would have liked, but there's reasons for that. I started Resident Evil 4, which came out on Friday.
Ooh.
And I will preface this with it's Resident Evil 4.
Yes. Some may say that is the greatest game of all time.
So to give some backstory, like Resident Evil 4 is a very important game to me in the sense that like it is the game that really launched me into more like when I played it in high school, it was the game that launched me into like more mature games. Despite how campy the original Resident Evil 4 is, like I had never touched an M-rated game to that point outside of like maybe Mortal Kombat, which Mortal Kombat is its own version of campy. And like I played Resident Evil 4 without even playing any of the previous games in the series just because my buddy in high school was like, look, you just need to play this game.
Yeah.
It's fine. You don't really know anything. It's fine. Just play it. This game is incredible. And so he lent it to me and like I played it and I must have played that game like 8-9 times at this point. Like between the GameCube version and the PS2 version with like the additional content, like never really got into the Wii version, even though everybody tells me those controls are fantastic.
It's so good. It's probably my favorite version of that game.
And like when I tried it, I just couldn't click with them for whatever reason. Like everybody tells me those controls are insane, but like I just could not vibe with them. I just was not about it. But I love Resident Evil 4 is the bottom line here. Resident Evil 4 is one of my favorite games of all time. Got me into the Resident Evil series. Just it's an incredible game. It really laid the foundation for a lot of modern game design in 2005. Like it really set the stage going forward in terms of games like that, you know, or even just like any game. Like it set a lot of game design standards.
Third person action game. Changed the game.
Yeah. And it was just very impactful in the industry. So when I say that the remake is Resident Evil 4, that impact has felt a little less in 2023.
Interesting.
It's still good. Like it's still a great game because it's Resident Evil 4. But you kind of get what I'm hitting at here. So
it's not really doing anything new for you then.
Not yet. So like there's definitely like some new areas that I've encountered. Like I'm like, oh, this wasn't in the original game, but like they're kind of few and far between. For the most part, it's Resident Evil 4.
I'm not quite sure like how to take that from you, whether it's like would you have wanted like more drastic changes?
See, and that's like the contest that I've been having with myself. It's like Resident Evil 4 is a damn near perfect game. I love that game. The game's amazing. I think I may have had I think I might have had some like predisposition in terms of like what I was to expect coming into this game. And like for example, if you're expecting a dramatic shift from like how the Resident Evil 2 remake was, that's not what Resident Evil 4 remake is at all. Resident Evil 4 remake is a graphical overhaul, for better or for worse, depending on how you feel. And it like tweaks some mechanics, but for the most part is the same game.
Mm-hmm.
And like again, Resident Evil 4 is a game that it's very hard to evolve past that game in terms of like that game was perfect. In fact, like the only argument that you could really make in that game is that the first area of the game is much better than the last two areas of the game, in my opinion. Although I really do like the castle, I think the village area of Resident Evil 4 is probably like the creepiest and like has the best ambiance. And like the castle was kind of cool because like you have this eccentric villain Salazar, and like you have the claw wielding enemies and like the whacked out monks and all that. Like the castle was still pretty cool. I never really cared for like the military island at the end of the game. I was like, this is a dramatic shift, and like that's how I would improve Resident Evil 4, by just getting rid of that. And you can't really do that without like completely overhauling the game. And like right now I'm still in the village. Like I'm about 6 hours in. I am playing on the new difficulty, hardcore, which was recommended for people who played the 2005 version. I don't know what's really different about it. I thought it was that enemies just take more hits, but I'm talking to my buddy Ron, who's playing on standard, and he's like, yeah, enemies seem to be a bit more resilient in this game than they did in the original. And like, we could just be remembering that we were pretty busted by the end of the game, and like you could headshot like a bunch of the Ganados and they instantly die. So like it's really hard to go in like completely unbiased. That being said, like there are some things that I don't know if it's the remake or me or like the change in like the lighting and sort of like because like in the village section, the game is definitely like a lot darker and more creepier than the original Resident Evil 4. A lot of that is brought forward by, you know, just current technology and like how we make video games now, right? And like I find myself getting lost in like combat because there's just like so much going on and it's super fucking dark. And like I've definitely just like ended up in a situation where like I couldn't see anything and I died. No, I don't know if that's just me being old or the game just being too dark. I don't know. But like again, at the end of the day, it's still Resident Evil 4. I'm still having a good time. Like and so like that really raised the question, and I'm like, well, does it deserve all these 10s that it's getting?
Oh, okay. I feel like you are the first person I've talked to about this that is like slightly pushing back on that, which is why I'm very interested in your take for this.
Yeah, and like I kind of wanted to tell you that like as I was playing it, but I kind of wanted to keep it sort of a spicy surprise for today.
Surprise.
But like again, it's Resident Evil 4. It's an amazing fucking game. But like, do the changes warrant it still like getting a 10? The game doesn't. Okay, I'll say this: Resident Evil 4 as a whole holds up. The game doesn't feel dated, and they definitely improved on like the purposeful tank controls that were in the original. Like you're able to move when you shoot. That's like the big thing. Oh, and they added a parrying system to the knife, so the knife has durability, and you're able to parry with the knife. So like that mechanic is welcome, but at the same time, I found myself wishing that the knife just didn't have durability. Now that could be because I'm using it a lot more because I'm parrying things. So I don't know.
I mean, maybe it might be one of those things where you need to be a little more selective about it, right?
Yeah.
Treat it as an actual resource.
Yeah, and like the game does give you like disposable knives as well. That you can pick up like throughout the like as you're exploring, and like you can use those to parry and do all that. But like otherwise, like again, it's still Resident Evil 4. The core of the game is still there. It doesn't feel dated. It holds up. What is it, 18 years later? They changed Ashley's mechanics a bit. So now like you can have her follow close to Leon or farther away from Leon, which kind of gives you a bit more like leniency in terms of combat. Cause like not
change.
every time. Yeah, because like every time you couldn't have like Ashley like hide in like a dumpster or something like while you cleared out a bunch of enemies or something like that. She also doesn't have a life bar anymore. They changed it to where she gets hit once, she becomes incapacitated, but like she's lying on the ground, so she won't get hit by like random AoEs from like a Las Plagas Ganado or something, or like one of the bigger dudes. But if she gets hit again while she's incapacitated, it's game over. I do like a lot of the I do like that change, but that made me think of another change because I just got Ashley. It looks like they're adding a lot more backstory to the characters in RE4, which is probably continuing the trend of RE2 and RE3 remake, which I have not played. I do want to put that out there. I really want to sit down and play those games, but I much like the original Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3, I didn't play those until after I played 4, so I figured I'd keep up tradition at this point.
Okay. I like that.
Spoiler alert, I just never got around to it. But like they're new hiding places for like treasures and whatnot, and like one of the new hiding spots was in the roof or in the ceiling of the village chief's house. There was like a lot more backstory in there, talking about like how the village chief became. So basically, what I'm piecing together from the story is talking about like how the Ganados came to be and like how this situation in Europe ended up happening, right?
Right.
Which really isn't explained in the original Resident Evil 4. So that's cool. I appreciate that as like someone who really likes lore. I appreciate that. I'm not like too invested in Resident Evil lore, but it's there and that's cool.
Yeah, I always appreciate extra story bits.
I know Chris is trying to hook up Leon with his sister. I know that.
My god.
But so like that aspect's cool. I mean, No, go ahead.
I was gonna say it sounds like they made like the smart choices, like the areas where the game could have needed some improvement. Like it was a great game originally, and it's like, okay, we already have a great base, so let's just focus on like the areas that we could just improve incrementally, like better Ashley things, or here's this new parry mechanic, just add a little bit more to the combat there, let's add a little bit more lore here. Like everything you're saying, I would almost say is grounds for like keeping it like a 10, because I mean the original game got pretty much perfect scores also, right? And if you're just being smart about the improvements on what is already a fantastic game, I feel like that would warrant another 10, right?
Yeah,
if you think about it.
Like, but I also think that it's sort of subjective at the same time.
All of this at the end of the day is to some degree, right?
Well, sure. Because you're going to have your fans that are going to come into this and they'll be like, well, it was the same game. And like they could have been expecting a lot more. Like you had the drastic changes from like 2 and 3, which granted, those were more drastic overhauls to kind of just make them play more like Resident Evil 4.
Right.
If I'm being honest. And like, what are you going to do? Make Resident Evil 4 play like Resident Evil 7? I don't think so.
Just make it first person. Let's go.
Well, what if they did?
But what if we had first person VR RE4?
Oh wait, that exists, doesn't it?
Oh wait, it actually does. I forgot they did that. That just came out last year.
Nice. So they already did that. They already did RE4. So whatever. Like I said, it's RE4. it's a damn near perfect game, like the original is, and like it still holds up to this day. So I guess I don't have much more to say outside of that, other than it's Resident Evil 4, which is somewhat disappointing, I guess. I will say the new Virgin voice actor sucks.
Which voice actor?
The new Merchant voice actor.
Oh, really? You don't like the new Merchant?
No.
No,
it doesn't even come close.
Oh, oopa.
New Leon took me a second to get like adjusted to. Like, I understand it's the same VA from RE2, so that's fine. I will say this: the intro, which is probably more tied again to like RE2 and RE3 remake, is nowhere near as tight as the original intro in the original RE4. If only because I think that intro is more designed to be, hey, it's been a while since the last Resident Evil game, and this is a completely different Resident Evil game. So we're gonna do like a brief synopsis of what happened in those games, and then here's Leon.
And
that's a completely personal thing. I understand I'll be in the minority on this. That's fine. But like the intro to this RE4 just felt very rushed, and I was just like, okay, I guess.
They wanted you in the game. They're like, you're here for RE4. We're putting you in the video game immediately.
Like you're like Leon's talking to the background about being forced to like join the special forces group, but in the background it shows like the U.S. nuking Raccoon City. And in the original intro, Leon's explaining that, and in this intro, it felt so non sequitur that I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way. And again, I might be the only one that has a problem with it. That's fine. I'll die. I will absolutely die on this hill. It's fine.
I love that. My man, at least you believe in what you were saying. I love this.
But I mean, other than that, like I said, it's Resident Evil 4. It's a great game. I think they added a side quest as well. That's new. So there's a bunch of the merchant posts up these blue notes all over the place, and they're side quests for like things that you can find. Or do like the blue medallion things from the original game is now a merchant side quest, and you get rewards for them. And the rewards are like a special currency, and you can exchange that special currency for items at the merchant shop. So like that's cool. Like there's like little side quests. So yeah, a lot of the changes are really small, but a lot of them are good. Yeah, I mean, it's Resident Evil 4. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, I don't. If you did not like the original Resident Evil 4, I don't know what's wrong with you. But I don't think this game change your mind.
He said you're a freak.
That was right.
If you don't like it,
it's a masterpiece. Like, I'll be perfectly honest.
But how much time did you spend shooting pirates?
More than I cared to. Like, I definitely hit a point where I was like, all right, I think I'm done.
I think that's like unanimous. I don't think I've met a single person who hasn't been like, damn, I really spent all that time shooting pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I tried going for a perfect score, but I realized that I don't know if it's RE's shooting mechanics or whatnot. Doesn't really lend itself to like a shooting gallery very well. And then also like the rewards are cool, but also don't feel like super worth it.
You don't want that sweet keychain?
I mean, look, all right, so I'll be perfectly honest. One of the keychains I did get was like get 100% money, like so basically doubles the money whenever I sell healing items, right?
Yeah.
And so my first thought is like, well, when am I ever gonna fucking use this? Like, I need to keep my healing items. But then there were like a couple of side quests I had to do, like catch a couple snakes and catch a fish and get a gold chicken egg. And the quest was you get it and you sell it to the merchant that's like giving it to him. And it like those count as healing items. So it just doubled my money for completing those quests. And I was like,
hell
all
yeah.
right, that's so like golden chicken egg, which is normally sold for like 9,000. I just got 18,000 for that. And I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty sick.
Maybe you should play the pirate game more.
Well, I locked myself out of it for the time being. I have to find a new shooting gallery.
I will say the shooting gallery with a Wiimote is pretty nice.
Yeah. Wait, was the shooting gallery in the Wii game?
I don't remember.
I actually don't remember.
It's the way he said it with such confidence that I believed him.
I was just saying the shooting in general is really good with the Wii remote.
That's incredible.
Dogs are more annoying in this game.
Oh, really?
I forgot that they were there, and then they showed up, and I was like, this feels more annoying than they originally were. Oh, there's a new crafting system. I forgot about that. There is a crafting system as well.
This sounds like there's a lot of new shit.
I mean, I will put crafting in quotes. Basically what it is they added 2 new droppables that you can pick up, which is resources, small and large, and gunpowder. And much like how you could mix herbs in the original, you can mix resources and gunpowder of varying amounts to make ammo.
Okay.
So like
that's fine.
It's not a crafting. The game calls it a crafting system.
Yeah.
But it's not really. It's
just
it's a way to deal with ammo drought.
Right. Which I mean that's welcomed, I feel.
Yeah. But again, it's not like a major system or overhaul. All these changes are really small.
Yeah.
But like they all add up to like a more polished product, I'd say.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And like, if you've never played Resident Evil 4, you're in for a fucking great game. So like, and like, you're probably playing it at its best version, Wii version aside. So I think that did kind of. I think when I realized how much it wasn't different, it did kind of cool my desire to no life it this weekend.
No life.
I see.
I
was definitely expecting you to finish it. I was expecting you to be done by the time we recorded.
Well, hardcore is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm also stuck in like a side quest where I had to go deal with like a powered up enemy, but then the powered up enemy moved from where the game told me it was into a room full of ganados that you're supposed to clear out before you fight this enemy.
I see.
And I didn't.
And then you
and
died.
So here I am. A lot. A lot.
Oof.
So, yeah.
All right.
So I'll have more opinions. I'll probably try. I will try to have it beat by next recording so I can talk about it more and like have a more, because like I've put 8-9 hours into it, maybe 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have more concrete opinions of like where it lands. I'm sure it's Resident Evil 4. I know where it's going to land. But I'll have more ideas of like what else is different. Because again, I did encounter like new areas and there's some new enemies. But like it all blends well enough together that you could be forgiven to not realize that it wasn't in the original.
Yeah. I like that. I hope I can give it some time. I do want to get through that game at some point. I don't know when I'll get to it, but it is definitely on my list of games that I feel like I should play this year.
It's a cool video game.
For sure. Hell yeah.
I can't wait for Drew to be on the next podcast episode and say the game is ass.
Oh God. I can see it now. Just Resident Evil 4's ass. Okay, great. Well, Tire Show is canceled. We're all being buried under this hot take.
I don't see that happening.
Oh my god.
Good deal. Alrighty then. Well, let's carry on. Asher,
Yes.
you have been known to play a video game or two.
Yeah, a couple, I guess. Let's start with one that I've come back to after, I want to say, about 2 years.
Oh,
I've started playing Rainbow Six Siege again.
is it because of 2B?
No, so 2B actually came in, I want to say, 2 years ago.
Oh, I don't know when she came in. I just know that game has a bunch of characters.
Yeah, 2B's in there, and so is Leon and Jill.
Jill, okay.
From Resident Evil are also in there.
Some would say he's just playing RE4 Siege.
Yeah, it turns out. They have their own like victory animations too. So if you like win the game, people have to see your ridiculous non-Rainbow Six animation. And it's just the best thing on earth. So I'm actually not a crazy like FPS guy. I'm pretty bad at them. Like, I historically just haven't developed that kind of like sense. A lot of FPS games I do play, you can kind of, at the elo that I play, you can make up for your lack of ability to click heads with either an understanding of the game or like play characters that don't necessarily require you to click heads, right? So like Overwatch is a good example. I can heal people in Overwatch, right?
Right.
Or Apex Legends, like if I moved correctly or set my traps correctly, I can. And also there's like the random variants of being a battle royale. I can pick up, better equipment and I can win the gunfight. And so Rainbow Six Siege is really interesting. Because it certainly has like a very hardcore energy to it. I think it's very daunting to get into the game, and I'm actually like trying to get like a couple of friends into the game.
Yeah.
But I also play it because there are certain things you can do that kind of, if you're more creative, you can get the upper hand on someone who's better than you at clicking heads. There's like a mind game involved. And that's actually, I don't think I've ever top fragged in any FPS game I've ever played. Like I said, I'm like not great at them. But this past week, I top fragged for the first time.
Oh, hey, congratulations.
Yeah. And that's why I got to see the near victory screen.
So that's only for like the top fragger?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yep. Okay, gotcha.
And it was a crazy sequence. I took out, I want to say, 2 people. And then there was like me and this other person in a 1v1. And the character who has 2B's costume, every character in Rainbow Six Siege has one special ability, at least, right? And they've gotten crazier over the years. Like, at the beginning, it was like, okay, I can see this kind of being, like, realistic, but now they're just like...
No, it's an anime game at this point.
Yeah, now people are, like, shooting bees and shit like that. And so, like, the character I'm playing, the person who has the 2B costume, her thing is... she can create a hologram of herself that you control. And so the hologram behaves exactly like you, or like you can control it the same exact way you could control yourself, but it can't shoot. So I smashed the windows, and then of course this one person knew to look for me in that window, right? And then I created the hologram, and I set the hologram in, and he shoots the hologram, and of course it's not me. And at this point, I'm on the other side of the other window, and I shoot through that window, and I kill him because he's shooting my hologram. So you see, like, that guy probably would have killed me. It doesn't take a lot to be better than me at those games, but I outplayed him.
Right. Yes.
And I was rewarded with top frag. And that's just sick to me. You know, it's always been a cool game. It's one of the few games where I have a heavy admiration for, because when the game first came out, it wasn't good.
Nope.
But it was one of those games that, like, the people who stuck with it really got to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it became so much more than we ever thought it could be, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not that I was never one of those people who started with the game, but I know people who have, and I really appreciate that. They, like, took the changes to heart. They really made a great game out of something, like, abysmal.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And that's something to be admired, especially for a company like Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's not easy to do something like that, right? Uh-huh. It's a lot easier to just be like, okay, we're just going to cut our losses and just work on something new, right?
It could have been Anthem.
It could have been. Yeah, exactly. Like they wanted to work that game around, and eventually was like, nah, it's not coming together. And then Ubisoft also just has a track record of doing that in general, right?
Yep.
For a lot of their other shooters, since that's really kind of all they do these days. So it was definitely like one of those games that, like, everyone was ready to just write off. It's whatever, and then slowly over time you just hear creeping up, Rainbow Six Siege is having a new update. They're doing a new update, and like a couple of years down the line, you look over and you're like, where did this come from? It is a whole new game now. They pulled the FF14 A Realm Reborn. Like,
yeah, they did. They really did.
You know, I can only think of like 3 games that have really done that. And I almost feel like and this is like a small aside for Ubisoft specifically, like, I feel like after the success of Siege, I almost felt like they felt like they could do that again. Right? Like, every time they would release a game afterwards, it always felt half-baked, and it always felt like they was confident that they can just turn it around at any point. If that makes sense.
It does make sense, and it's not a good mindset.
It's not a good mindset. It's like, oh, we can just release this thing and then we'll just update it later. Like, don't worry about it. And them realizing that, no, this was like a lightning in a bottle scenario.
Yep.
You know?
It really was.
So I'm always excited to hear more about Rainbow Six Siege or see what it's doing, right? Because I just love that story.
Yeah, I do too.
Keep going. And maybe one day give us a new Rainbow Six Vegas. You know, I'll take that. I like. That
I know
game
people love that game. I
love Vegas.
Love that game.
But yeah,
people love Vegas. People love Splinter Cell.
Oh yeah, that's dead. That's never coming back.
Hey, he's in Rainbow Six.
Yep. That's where he will stay.
So yeah, I've been having an absolute blast with that, and like with the start of the new season, it's like, okay, I can kind of hop in and just like enjoy the show. So been playing that. Another game I've been playing, and I think you talked about this in the last podcast. And I actually played it upon your recommendation. I started playing it on stream. Is Paranormasight.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm so lucky right now in terms of like games. I'm playing my 2 favorite games of the year so far right now. And one of them is Paranormasight. I'm playing it. It's one of the few streams that I play. I'm playing a single player game with someone else who's like doing commentary with me.
Yeah.
The other instance I've ever done that was Resident Evil 8, I want to say. And that was a good time, and I wasn't playing that game, which is great, because I do not think I could physically play the baby segment.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think I would be, like, incapable of functioning after that if I was physically playing it, so it's great that I was commentary for it. But I'm piloting Paranormasight, and it's just been an absolute treat. Like, the atmosphere really is there, which is like kind of crazy. I don't play a lot of visual novels.
Yeah.
And so it's very strange, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like atmospheric, I feel like isn't really a word attributed to visual novel games.
Not very often. There's like a few out there that can really set the stage, but I wouldn't use that descriptor for a vast majority of them.
Yeah, because just by its nature and its pacing, and its reading, it's kind of like hard to do that.
Yeah.
But I don't just through somehow it, because like you control a camera and all that jazz, it's like, oh dude, I don't want to turn around. This is like terrible. This is like terrifying. And like I've been jump scared during the game, and I've been scared to do things in the game, and the game like fucks with you in like a very like Hideo Kojima way. So like it's really funny kind of scrambling to do things in that game.
Yeah.
Like fuck around with the settings because you think that's what's gonna work.
Yeah.
And then you try to do it again later and it doesn't work, and you're just like I feel like an idiot.
It does such a great job of just making you just like scramble, right? Like you don't know what the game kind of wants you to do at times, and it's just like you're so into what this game is setting up that like you're willing to try everything. Like you said, I was watching you stream with your friend, and like you got to a point and you're just like, maybe if we just go through all the settings, and I'm sitting at my desk just laughing my ass off because I know that's not the answer, but like the game puts you in the headspace to think that this is what you need to do, right? And like you're analyzing all of like the stories and stuff like that to try and get some sort of hint at like what you need to do next, and like it's just you're so sold on like what this game is selling you on, like you're just in it.
I am, and it plays with man, it does some really cool stuff too. Like like narratively, it asked me the question, how many people did this character kill? And then it's like, well, he killed this many characters. And then it's like, no, he didn't. He killed this many. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. And then like I thought about it, and it was like, wait, the rest were kind of my decision to kill them. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, it's like warping my brain in a very fun way.
And then you're also like, there's also like a doubt in your mind of like, do I really understand that though? Like,
do I really get it?
Like when I was also posed that question, I also answered the same way as you did, actually. And I had the feeling like I know this is like a trick question, but I can't. I don't know why, right? And then when he tells you like, oh, that's what you thought, huh? So that's how you see the scenario. I see. And I'm like,
It really is like a little teaser of a game. It's very tongue-in-cheek.
Very much so.
And like, whereas like, I feel like some people could find that annoying. Me, I'm just like, I'm having a good time. Yeah. I really am. And my friend is having a good time as well. So I'm very excited to like pick that game back up. We haven't gotten that far really. We've done one story thread, and I feel like there's just so many more. But I'm definitely gonna pick that game back up soon and see how we can like, I don't know, just navigate the story. It's such a fascinating story. It's super anime.
It's incredibly anime.
It's incredibly anime.
But also like, I don't know how you feel about like the character designs in the game, but like I really love how like grounded the characters are designed. So like I'm so used to like a game like this being done by like Spike Chunsoft or something, right? And you just have like these wacky designs for this wacky scenario.
Oh, they're apeshit, yeah.
You know, but you have here, it is a very anime story, but also like feels like it could be real in some ways. Like this is like a real ghost story being told to me.
Yes.
Like the characters just, I don't know, some of them just feel real to me in a way that like some of these other more wackier games don't. And it just makes it hit differently for me, seeing like these more quote unquote like realistically designed characters in this scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man, that game is cool.
I'm so excited to continue it. And then the last game I want to talk about is it kind of came out of nowhere, and it's especially great because of just like the fix that I've been longing for and the kind of like stuff that I'm into. But my friend recommended to me a game called The Last Spell. Have y'all heard of The Last Spell?
No, this is the first time hearing of it.
I feel like I have. What is this?
Okay, so The Last Spell is a roguelike tactics game. So, like, if Final Fantasy Tactics was a roguelike.
Okay.
But it's also like a zombie horde survival game. So, like, you're never doing, like... You don't have the variants of quests that, like, I guess a Final Fantasy Advance or Tactics game would, like, have. But rather, it's always, like, a protect the center of the map style game.
So tower defense in a way.
Yeah, so yeah, in a weird way, it's a tower defense also. And you're tasked with balancing decisions of building defenses, leveling up your heroes, or getting them better equipment, or like increasing production in your town. And it took me a long time before I beat the first town, and it had like a crazy intense boss fight that was literally a one-turn difference. Oh, I didn't beat it on my first try. It took me, once I finally made it to the boss portion of that stage, I think it took me 3 tries to actually beat the boss. But I'm on the second village now, and I'm sure that has its own boss, and it has its own mechanics. Like, it has different mechanics from the first village. And it is intense. And all the classes, there's so much, like, love and care put into these classes. They don't have a lot of abilities. But despite not having a lot of abilities, they have so much character. Like, one of the classes you unlock is like a gunner, and the way the gunner operates feels like weirdly, if you were to take a like, how should I describe this? You played you played Hi-Fi Rush?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how like you're doing combos and shit, and then you can like hook shot to someone and then continue your combo?
Yep.
Okay, imagine that, but it's like...
Rush.
What's that?
Because that sounds like I need to play Hi-Fi Rush.
You absolutely need to play Hi-Fi Rush.
Please play Hi-Fi Rush.
Please play Hi-Fi Rush. Imagine that, but like turn-based. So like, I'll shoot a zombie from a distance, and then like another zombie is like just out of range from my pistol because it's not like a long-range gun, but I can hook shot to him. And when I hook shot to him, it kills him, and it puts me in the middle of like the zombie horde. And then I can hook shot out, you know, depending on like the trajectory, because it's always a straight line. So like, I feel like the game promotes a lot of movement unless you specifically level up a character to not move. Like they get a special bonus for not moving.
Right.
Which you usually give like archers and stuff like that.
Okay, that would make sense.
Yeah. And there's so many classes, and I just can't. They're so different. And because it's a roguelike, when you fail, you always get 3 random characters to start a village, right? Okay. And so then when you fail, you get a new set of 3. And while they're not like, it's not going to give you like 3 mages. It's usually going to give you like a magic user, a long-range weapons like user, and then a like close range fighter. Now that close range fighter could be a tanky boy. It could be a person with a shield and like a mace, and you can set them up as this wall. But then like if you fail that run and you start your next run, it could be a two-handed sword wielder.
Gotcha. I see.
And now you have to play like a mobile like style, right? Because your magic user and your long range specialist can't rely on someone who's going to tank the blows. They need to be able to move too. And maybe you lucked out in that scenario and you also got movement mage. There's like a mage that's their specific thing is moving around. And the more they like move around, the more damage they do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's sick.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah. The classes are so fascinating. And I don't know how y'all feel about roguelikes. Roguelikes are like my thing. They're my jam. I think they're one of the like best genres of games. I know there's like people with strong opinions about it because like I feel like a lot of people feel as if like it's a cop out to go roguelike, especially if you're like an indie studio, because it's like easy to do randomly generated dungeons and stuff like that, and just like
I think. Go ahead, Drew.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think like they can be done right, because like I wouldn't call myself like someone who loves roguelites, but when One Step from Eden came out, I like put 50 hours in that game when didn't even realize it. Like that's One Step from Eden is one of my favorite games. Dead Cells is another one. Like the game is insane. I love that game. The game is Castlevania on crack.
It is.
And then Wizard of Legend is another one that I frequently play. Like, I don't play a lot of roguelites.
Hades.
Oh, yeah, Hades is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't play a lot of roguelites, but like the ones that I played, I can say, hey, they're really fucking good.
Yeah.
So, like, I think it's incorrect to say it's a cop out. Like, anything's a cop out. Like when, like, bro, when I was going through the 3DS eShop just to see if there was like anything I want to grab, there are so many samey games. Like anybody can do a cop out, and you can do it of any genre. Whether it's like hell, fucking tactics games are a dime a dozen. You could say that being a tactics game is a cop out. So like the people who say that, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm not just gonna put that out there right now.
I think there was like a time where roguelike was definitely like the genre, right? And I feel like it was like overexposure, right? Like I feel like there was a lot of fatigue that went around with roguelike games.
Went through this
Yes. Yeah. It hit that same sort of space, right? So then it started to become like, another one of these. But I mean, you do have like your standouts, right? And those will rise above all of the clutter that is out there.
Believe it or not, Mario or platformers, there was platformer exhaustion in like the mid '90s. I think when people say it's a cop out, like I understand what they're trying to say, but it's not what I mean. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like it's just so I don't know. I really love all the roguelikes I'm into, and I love especially some roguelikes. It's a balancing act in terms of like how to pace the game so that your person is feeling the power creep, and then like eventually they overcome it. Whether it's like a knowledge check or it's like the actual gameplay, you're incrementally getting better equipment and stuff like that. And I think the last spell just nails it, man. Like the power creep is so sick because it's unlocking new classes. It's unlocking new buildings. And then because you're getting these new classes and new buildings, it's increasing your knowledge check for the game. And then you start to get the feeling like, is this the run that I beat the first boss? Yeah. And when I beat that first boss, it was such an accomplishment because it was a one-turn difference. If one more turn had passed, I lost. And there was that like feeling of relief when my like last character hit the last shot and killed him. And I was like, Oh yes. And then I went into the next village, and then like I went to spend my essence points, and there were like 50 new technologies unlocked, and I was
geez.
what the hell? I'm overwhelmed, but also infinite possibilities. And I'll probably need every single one of those, at least to think about, in order to beat this next one.
Interesting.
And I'm nowhere near close right now. But it's like a mountain I'm willing to climb so badly,
right.
Because I feel like I'm learning so much at a very like fun rate.
I have 2 questions.
Sure.
First question: are you capped out at 3 characters, or do you find more as like a stage goes on? So you get like 4 in your party, or how?
So in the first village, you're pretty much capped out at 4.
4.
You can build an inn, and you can purchase another hero.
Okay.
And then in between waves, if you happen to lose heroes and you have the inn built, you can buy heroes to replace them. Now, here's another thing to keep in mind: if the hordes come, and then like you get to the day turn, and you get to build again, or you get to upgrade again. If certain buildings are destroyed, you lose the ability to do those things.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's something to like keep in mind. Building placement is actually important. You want the important buildings kind of close to the center, because if they're on the outside, yes, they double as a thing the monsters have to destroy before they get to the center, and that's great. But also, if the building is important, it really sucks if they destroy it first. And some maps start with the important buildings on the outside. So, like, you just get sad.
When you build, does it take like multiple turns for like a build to finish being built, or
no? So buildings are built instantaneously, but their upgrades will probably take you multiple turns due to the sheer amount of resources you need.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
I'm the type of person to build resource first before I like. So I'll take a rougher early start in order to have a better end game.
Mm-hmm.
So like my current playthrough, I'm only working on buildings. So I've been plowing through multiple waves with only 3 heroes because it costs a lot of gold to get more heroes. And it's hard. And I feel like so many things are getting destroyed around me. But I finally cracked it open, and now I'm in that place where it's like suddenly I have 6 heroes.
Mm.
And then like now I'm getting like more defenses because I set up my resource pipeline first.
Okay.
But it makes the early waves rough. And I could see people, if there's a way to come up with like a snowball strat where like your heroes are strong to start, and then you use that to segue into building better resources heading into endgame, and then those you make that the smaller amount of resources you get count. I could also see that too. I don't want to play that way because that would probably give me a heart attack. But like, you know, there's expression here.
Yes.
For the type of tactics player you are. You know?
That sounds great. I want to try this game.
Yeah, please do. It's a little indie darling. Came up completely out of left field when my friend recommended it to me because he knows I love to gush about like Final Fantasy Tactics and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
We always talked fondly about those games. And I like Fire Emblem. I played every single one past Awakening, Awakening and up. You know, I guess by Fire Emblem standards, I'm a fairly new Fire Emblem fan, but like I have played every single one since then. And so I like my turn-based tactics, and so like, and I love Advance Wars. God knows that like one of my most look forward to games this year is Reloaded.
Yeah.
And just nothing has hit it quite like this game has. I'm absolutely hooked, and it's a really neat story too, because essentially what you're protecting in the middle is like a mage or a couple of them, and they're casting something called the Last Spell, which will hopefully remove all magic from the world. Because the plot line is that like magic was brought into the world and it devastated the earth. It's post-apocalyptic.
I see.
And so the mages are trying to reconcile it and like undo everything by getting rid of all the magic in the world.
Right.
And so like the last remnants of society are like, we have to hold them off until like the mages can finish this spell.
Mm-hmm.
And the roguelike energy of it is that like every time you have to restart, it's like a new generation of people like are trying to stop this, that like live in this village.
Right.
It's super fascinating. And it has that like vague mystery that I love from roguelikes, you know? Like Binding of Isaac does a lot with its storytelling without actually like doing anything, you know?
Having like an exposition dump.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is what made Hades so good, is because like I felt like for a long time roguelikes could only be vague.
Mm-hmm.
And Hades is vague enough until it tells a complete story.
Yes, right.
And then I was like, sick. You can do that. You know, like you can do that. So yeah, please check out The Last Spell. I think it's overwhelming at first, but once you get a taste for it, I think it's a meal you finish.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah! All right, The Last Spell. I am going to check that out. I hope it runs on the Steam Deck.
Oh, that's a perfect Steam Deck game,
yeah,
dude.
It looks like a Steam Deck game. That looks like the thing that I would play right before I go to sleep. Like, let me get a couple tries here. Bam. Oh, actually, quick follow-up question. How long would you say a run is? Right.
They're getting longer.
Fair.
So I would say the first time the runs were about like 30 minutes in the first village.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're nearing like an hour to an hour 30.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you're really racking your brains for a little while.
Yeah, but you could save in the middle of them, so like I wouldn't feel obligated to finish it in that hour and hour 30. You know?
Right, like do a couple turns, take a break for a little bit, come back to it. Yeah. Okay, cool. I'm gonna check that out.
Yes, please.
Anything else?
Nope. I would say those are the primary 3 games I've been playing.
Sounds good. Well then, I think that comes to my turn, huh?
I guess so.
I'm the only one left.
No more escaping.
No more escaping. So PAX East.
Oh yeah.
This is. So I missed the last PAX. Last year's PAX East was the first time that they came back after the pandemic. And I hear last year was pretty like underwhelming, right? But also very understandable because like it's post-pandemic, like not a lot of people were going out. Most of like a lot of publishers weren't there. It felt like a really bare bones show, right? So this year, me and in the group I was with, we wasn't quite sure what to expect, though we were expecting like a bigger year, right? But we wasn't really sure like, is it going to hit the same highs as like before or whatnot? And I would say it was a very good PAX. Certainly a lot better than last year from what I hear. But also there was this feeling of like, we're missing some pretty key players, right? So for example, Square Enix usually has a really big presence at PAX. They did not have a booth. So I go into the hall and I know where Square Enix, they always have like the same spot, right? And I look over and instead of Square Enix, it's like, I think like Xseed was in their spot, or they were sharing it between Xseed and like THQ Nordic or something like that. And I was like, this feels like a hole here, right? But Nintendo, like, or even Nintendo, right? Nintendo usually has a pretty big PAX presence. And while they were here this year, they didn't really have anything to show. Like they had a Nintendo's Versus booth, And basically what it was is you would go into their booth with 3 other players. I traveled with as a group of 4, so anytime there was like a group thing, we would all do it together.
Yeah.
So we got into the Nintendo booth on the first day, and all they really did was they kind of like shoveled us through 5 different versus games, and it was all games that are already out, right? So it's like we ended up playing a round of Mario Party. We ended up playing or demoing Mario Golf, the
Did
newer
you win
one.
Mario Party?
I did not. I won golf. And then we did Super Mario Brothers. It was just basically who can complete the first level fastest.
Did you win?
I did win that. And then the last one was Yoshi. Oh yeah, Yoshi's Crafted World, where you do like the giant Yoshi dinosaur, and you're blowing up like the crafted houses and stuff. You try to score higher points. So it was really underwhelming, right? Because like I'm expecting, well, I'm not really expecting, Tears of the Kingdom, but like maybe Advanced Wars on the floor or something like that, And then at the end we did get to take a picture with Mario because obviously they're promoting the new movie as well. So there was instances of like this PAX feels kind of weird, but there still was like a lot of good games to play. Some pretty awesome panels as well. Shout outs to Yoshi P doing 2 panels. The Final Fantasy 14 panel, which was just a Final Fantasy 14 panel was really just like a Q&A session, where he was just like they took questions from like Twitter or something like that, and it was just really seeing Yoshi P be goofy, right?
Yeah.
They were asking like, what is his, what moments made him cry in Final Fantasy 14, and you could just see he was like, I cried a lot, and I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. And some other goof-ass questions about development and stuff. And then he also did a Final Fantasy 16 panel, which I thought was really fascinating, because we did get new footage of FF16. And I told Drew this before, but I was excited for Final Fantasy 16, but I still had like some reservations here or there. I wasn't quite sure about some combat instances that they've been kind of toting about. There was a couple other areas that I was kind of questioning, like, is this going to be good? I'm not sure. And the demonstration that they performed like answered all of my questions, and like I left that arena like 100 times more excited than I already was for that game. It was really cool to see like a live demonstration. It was really funny too, because what they did was after a couple of trailers and a couple of PowerPoint presentations, they get to a point where they're like, okay, we're going to address all of the negative comments we have been seeing online, right? And Yoshi P goes line by line, like one by one, through each of like the common complaints, and is like disproving everything. Right? There was like one complaint where people were like, why are there no open areas in this game? Why is everything like feeling so narrow? And he was just like, it's not. It was just that section of the gameplay demo that we showed. This game is actually open. Here, let me show you. And he grabs the PS5 controller and they boot up the game like live, and he's going through like one of the big open areas, and he's like, look at all of this area.
But it's not open though.
It's all open. Look at all of this open area. There's so much to do here.
I don't hear you.
Like it was just a really funny presentation as he went through each one. One of them was addressing like some combat instances, and he was like, no, let me show you a demonstration, and he showed like a couple of very small clips of a few little instances that was just like, yep, that looks clean, that looks good. And they were all like very joking about it too, right? They were very much laughing about the whole thing, how silly it is that people were like making these assumptions. So it made for like a really fun bit. And I'm just like, man, I love that, man. Yoshi P is like is probably like my favorite creator within games right now.
I love that.
He is such a wholesome individual and just like knows how to take a joke. One really cool thing that I learned from like the Final Fantasy 14 panel was, so I always knew like Yoshi P plays his own game, right? So he is a hardcore Final Fantasy 14 player, right? And there are devs that don't play their own games, right? They make their games, you know, they went through all the testing for it, and then they just move on to the next project.
Yes.
Yoshi P is like, he is the top DPS, like the top black mage in the entire game. Across all servers, right? He hardcore plays, but he also talked about having like a private account where he just likes to party with new players and help people through content. That is something that he just does in his spare time. Or while he's working, he'll stay logged in and he'll go to like one of the populated zones and he'll just people watch. He just likes watching people run around in these areas. And I'm like, that's really fucking cool. Again, just like a very wholesome thing for this creator. So yeah, at Final Fantasy 14 and I mean 16 is just like, it's in great hands, you know. Like I don't know if he'll get to do like all of the future Final Fantasy titles, but like
No,
I also
he's Square Enix.
what's he will soon become the president of Square Enix.
Somebody has to save it.
Somebody has to save Square Enix, please. But I do look forward to anything he puts his name on, because at this point, like it's clear that he puts so much love and care into everything he designs. Outside of that panel, a couple of games I did try that I would like to shout out. I went to Yacht Club Games' booth. So this is the developer for Shovel Knight. They have a game coming out called Mina the Hollower, I believe it is. And this game is really cool. It has the visual style of like the Game Boy Zelda games, but it plays more. I don't want to say soulsy, right? But it is definitely a case of like you have to think about, you know, your attacks. Like you have to be a little methodical about it.
Such a cop out, Rob.
It is such a cop out. I can't believe they did this. But what's really cool is like, when you start the game, you can pick between 3 different weapons that feel like completely different. One being a sword, which there is like a sword toss mechanic where you can just like you have to toss the sword, it bounces off the enemy, and then you can catch it if you happen to stand like where it lands, or if you're not there, you have to go and pick it back up. But it has like kind of short-ish range, okay damage. This is what you expect out of a sword. They have a hammer, which is pretty sick, because it's almost like Monster Hunter, where like you can do charges. Like you could hold the hammer, and then the longer you hold it, it creates this like giant explosion on the ground, which is pretty sick. And then I believe they have like a whip, which people that played the whip is like, yo, Castlevania. And I'm like, all right, I don't want the whip.
Fair enough.
I'm a hammer bro. But this game was really cool. It has a burrowing mechanic, where like as you're moving through the world, you can jump, and if you hold the jump button, you burrow underground, and you use that to get around obstacles or solve puzzles. You can burrow under like a rock, and as soon as you come up, you end up picking up the rock, so you can use that to pick up items and throw it at enemies. It's really freaking cool, man. If you enjoy like that, you know, Link's Awakening like art style in terms of like the in-game graphics, right, of like a Link's Awakening type game, and you want something with a little bit of a combat challenge, like this is hitting all the spots. It was definitely like one of my favorite games that I played this PAX. Another game that I didn't get to play it, but I did watch a lot of it, and I got to talk to the publisher for probably like 5 to 10 minutes about it, because their line was really freaking long. Was a game called Demon School. And I haven't heard of this before. I think it got announced relatively recently. But this is a game, it's a tactics game, but in the style of like it feels more like an Into the Breach. If either of you have played that,
Yeah.
It's definitely like smaller arena, but it's like Into the Breach meets like Persona, and this is the publisher's words, not mine. So don't come at me. Where it is very much like outside of battle, you have your friend group, you're like building relationship bonds and learning more about characters and stuff. And then within battle, it is this tactics game where every character has like very specific patterns and skills that they can use to destroy the enemies. There are push and pull mechanics, right? So you're like manipulating where the enemies are standing. There are environmental hazards that you have to work around and play around. It seemed really cool. Had a really nice like anime-ish art style aesthetic to it. The sprite work looked really good. It's a really fascinating game, honestly. As I was watching it, I was like, this looks really freaking cool. And would scratch like this tactics itch that has been like awoken inside of me post Fire Emblem. So I want to check that game out. Also in the tactics vein, I sent you the picture of this one, which was, I think, Sigil something. Let me see here. Sigil of the Magi. Excuse me. And this was another one that has like a Fire Emblem-y or like an Into the Breachy style tactics game, but it's a deck building game. It is like a roguelike deck building game. So from what I understand, like you don't have individual characters that have levels, but instead you're powering up these cards that you randomly get through each stage and trying to use them efficiently to kill everything on the screen. And there's another one where it's like you have skills that can manipulate enemy movement, right? You can push, you can pull. There are stage hazards and all that stuff. It seemed really interesting. I'm not the biggest deck builder person, so it's not necessarily a game that I would probably dig deep into, but the abilities, the visuals, like it has really good pixel graphics. Is definitely like selling me on it to the point where like I would buy it and play it for a little while. I don't know if I would get to completion on it, but it is definitely one that I would like keep an eye on. And they had a fun little contest at their booth too, where like they had empty cards at their booth, and you can draw on the card and name the card, and then I think it was a case of like at the end of the weekend they'll like pick whatever best cards and they'll send the winner some swag and stuff. It was pretty cute. It was good stuff there. Animal Well was another game that I saw. This was a Metroidvania style game that just got announced pretty recently. I highly recommend everybody go check out footage of this game. The visual effects for this pixel game is like kind of OD. And it reminds me of like Hollow Knight in some ways in terms of like the exploration. Because it is very much like they drop you in the scenario and like you don't know where to go, and it almost feels like I'm building out my own map in some ways. The combat it feels a little more puzzly. Like you don't have an outright attack. But like there's this mist enemy that I ran into, and basically what I had to do was I needed to get past the mist enemy to crank up this crank that'll bring up a platform so I can platform my way up to the exit. But I had to find some way to deal with this cloud enemy thing. So I go a different direction after some awkward puzzle solving. And I say awkward because I'm blind and I was playing on like the big screen and everybody was watching me, and I was like, damn, I must feel like a fucking idiot right now because I should have just went over here. Instead, I didn't see where I needed to go. But I get to where I need to go, and I find these firecrackers, and I'm like, oh, this is like something that I can toss out. And apparently, if I use the firecrackers, it destroys the mist enemies, right? So it seems like rather than having like a constant like, oh, I have a sword or a constant attack button, you're finding items to deal with very specific enemy types. The demo was limited to 15 minutes, and it was basically see how far you can get. I didn't encounter any boss fight in that time period, but the platforming, the puzzling, and sort of the exploration bits of that game were really fascinating. Again, a very beautiful game. The sound effects were on point. The music was good. It had really nice ambient like vibe to it. Definitely like on very high on the games that I'm going to watch for this year. I think they haven't committed to a release date yet, but they said they're aiming for the end of the year or early 2024. So please look into that game, wishlist it, because that is definitely one of the best games that were there. Blackout Protocol was another game that I played. I'd never heard of this game going in. I think it's been around for a little bit, but they're in like a closed beta phase or something. This was a 4-player like twin stick shooter, twin stick survival game. So it was like, what if Left 4 Dead, but twin stick shooter, and you have like different classes that have different skills, right? So you have like the medic, so you have a group healer, and I forget what the other ones are. It was pretty good. But my only real complaint with it was I felt like the movement was a little too slow. You do get a roll button, but it also consumes stamina, so like you can't really. The movement felt pretty stiff, right? But certain points you will find treasure chests that will give you upgrades, and you can use those upgrades. Are random for everybody, right? So it almost has like that roguelike element as well, where you're finding like, okay, I get this upgrade card that can give me plus movement speed or plus AoE damage or whatever, right? It seemed pretty fun. The demo lasted probably about 10 minutes. We died a horrible death. One thing to note, friendly fire is on for that game, so you have to be very, very careful. I had a minigun, and that shit was spraying everywhere, and I'm pretty sure I killed one of my teammates.
God.
But I also found a pulse rifle, or not a pulse rifle, a fucking railgun. So I was just like shooting this giant beam of light everywhere, and I'm like, well, if I hit you, I hit you. I'm sorry. There's too many enemies. I can't afford to be accurate. There's grenades and a whole bunch of other wacky firearms in there. Yeah, check that out. It's pretty cool. I would definitely play that again with like the right group of people, right? It's one of those games where like, it feels like me, Asher, Drew, Lewis, like we could have a lot of fun playing that game.
Absolutely.
Another one that I've been kind of memeing on, like I've been posting this picture of this baby that's like stanced up.
Oh my god, I know what picture you're talking about.
I was wondering what the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Bro, we saw that literally like the last day that we were there.
Like I saw it, somebody else post it, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Was that the best game you played?
It was the most confusing game I played. I'm trying to remember what the name of this game was. Who's Your Daddy? That's what it was.
Yeah, Who's Your Daddy?
Okay, so it is touted as a multiplayer parenting simulator. All right.
Oh, that's a grounds for success right there.
It is great.
Finally.
1 player is the parent, and then 3 players are the babies. And let me tell you, it is not just like you can pick different characters, right? So like there is a baby in here that is just like a mandragora. You could pick
What?
from like a toast baby. Like it is literally just a two pieces of bread put together and baby limbs on it. You can pick. It is so trippy. There was
I'm really not trying to take away from this.
no, listen, man, it's insane. For like the daddy character, there's like a regular human, but there's like a giant tree that you can play as. It's almost like you're playing as Groot. And like there's like a zombie dad in there somewhere. It's very awkward. But anyway, the whole point of the game is the three babies. And this is my best understanding because the game doesn't do a great job of telling you what the actual goal is. The three babies are trying to like kill themselves. Like they're trying to get into trouble, and the parent is trying to like capture them and bring them back into the house and prevent them from harming themselves. So it is just like it almost reminds me of like a job simulator, like how wacky it is. You're interacting with objects and stuff, where like these babies are just like fucking jumping off trampolines and flying all over the place, like opening up ovens and jumping into the ovens or jumping out of the window to run into the street, and the parent is just like trying to get to them and tossing them back to the house. I feel like it was a fever dream.
This conversation feels like a fever dream.
There was at one point where like I was in the playpen, and there's like a trampoline in the playpen, so like I jumped on the trampoline and somehow I got up to the lights, and then you can swing from the lights. So like my friend is trying to catch me, and like I'm just jumping from light to light, and then I fall, and then he picks me up and then like tosses me back into the fucking play area. Huh. This game is dumb. Like we
loved it.
As we were like playing it and trying to figure this out, like we're looking at the devs, and they're just like, they just shrug their shoulders and they're just laughing at us, and we're like, oh, they know what they created. They don't even know what the fuck they did. Yeah, weird game. But it was fun for like the 5 minutes we sat down trying to figure out what the fuck we're doing.
Who's your daddy?
Who's your daddy? I don't know any other information in terms of like when it's coming out. Devolver Digital had a really cool booth, but unfortunately like the games that they had to show weren't like anything new or amazing. Like they really came here just to show more Cult of the Lamb, because I do think that's getting like additional content. But their booth itself was like probably the best looking booth of the entire show floor. Like they had the whole theater mock-up or whatever, and like the movie posters for the games that they were showing. It was a really stunning display. So I think that was probably like my favorite like looking booth. And then like the last thing that I kind of did there was I went over to the Pokemon. They had a Pokemon booth, but it was focused on the trading card game, which I've never seen at a PAX before. And really what they're doing is they're just having like this Pokemon like play, what do they call it? I forget the wording for it, but essentially they're training you on how to like play the card game or the various versions of the card game. And it's cool because when you go in there, you have like all of the assistants are like dressed up as like professors, and they call themselves professors, right? As you sit down, they demonstrate the card game for you. And it was pretty fun. Like I did enjoy it. I haven't like touched the Pokemon card game since like the Game Boy Color game, right? So it was really fun going through these like little trial decks and learning the rule set and getting my ass blasted because the person I was playing against already knew the game.
Incredible.
It was pretty good. And then when we finished, we went over to like the prize area, because as long as you come in and play, you walk out with some gifts, some swag. And they basically set it up as if like you're picking your starter Pokemon. So you go over and they give you the whole spiel about Pokemon and specifically like playing in the TCG and how there's different events and being like a Pokemon master. So now here you can pick your starter deck and they have 3 different starters for you to choose from. So they have one based off Umbreon, one based off Lucario, and one based off of, I don't remember the other one. And I thought that whole setup was very cute. So I picked picked a little Umbreon trial deck. Got a nice little Pokemon pin with the Weed Cat on it, and then walked on out of there. There's several other games I played too, but I'll probably like hold those over for the next week or so, because I feel like I could sit here for another hour. I probably played 30, well, probably more like 25-ish games. Most of which were pretty fun. I did get to see Toge Productions was there, so that is the developer for A Space for the Unbound. So I got to gush to them about how much I love that game, which put a big smile on their faces, which was very cool. And then you got to leave like a little note on like the board that they have up there. So like everybody that tried the demo for the game wrote like a little note, and then like I had this one note on there that's just like, I cried a lot, and pasted it like right front and center, which that was pretty cool too. So yeah, cool PAX experience. I would love for you guys to join me one year. I think it is just a really fun time. Right, it's an event like no other. It's really just a good weekend of just playing video games and talking with developers. And they don't just have video games; they have tabletop as well. I heard the tabletop section this year was pretty insane. Like they gave away a lot of free games, a lot of good games from what I heard too. I'm not in that space, but I know Asher, you probably would have had a really good time over there.
Probably.
So yeah, we'll have to make that happen. I want to see a JSB PAX at some point.
Hell yeah!
But
That sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, definitely. One of my favorite events, just like in general, right across all of my hobbies. I make it a point to go as often as I can. And then you just get a bunch of free shit. Like this is the event where you get the most free shit, whether you want it or not. They just throw it at you. You just walk up and say hi, and there's just like, here's a T-shirt, and I'm like, oh okay. I finished a demo for a game that I don't even remember the name of. It was like it was like an Earthbound style game, but also had inspirations of Secret of Mana, but also Undertale. Like it was doing way too much. I don't particularly care for that game. It struggled to find its own identity, but I finished the demo, and the guy came up behind me and he was like, good job, you finished the demo, and he passed me a PS5 game, like just a new sealed copy of God, I forget what the game was. It's over in the corner.
It wasn't funny if they gave you the game.
It wasn't the game I was demoing. It was just another. Huh?
Was it a game they made?
I don't think so. It might have been something they published.
Okay, because I'm just wondering if they like hit up Walmart and like just bought a bunch of games from like the $5 bin to give out.
It felt like it, honestly. But I was just like, okay, cool. I got a free PS5 game. Nice. For the record, it was a game that seemed like very much up my alley. So maybe I'll have a review for that next week, once I dig it out of this massive pile of stuff. But yeah, man, PAX East, great time. Highly recommend. I am getting tired, so let's wrap up. Let's get out of here. Drew, sign us off.
You can find me on Twitter at JSB Totally Drew, decrying how much money I spent on the Nintendo eShop.
Hell yeah. I'm sure you and a lot of other people right now, actually. At least was everything at least like discounted pretty hard, or No,
Capcom did, so I bought
Capcom had the discount. Okay.
entire Phoenix Wright series for like $12.
Yeah,
Hell
I remember seeing like some screenshot.
Including like the 3DS exclusive games.
Yeah.
Because like I did already have the trilogy on Switch, but I said, hey, what the hell? It's $2.
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing like screenshots of like a deep discounted sale. I wasn't sure if that was across the entire eShop or if that was just like a particular.
No, so
publisher.
apparently in Europe, Atlas, and actually it was NIS because NIS published a lot of Atlas games in the EU.
Yeah.
Slashed all their games, and I was expecting to pick up a lot. I was expecting to pick up a lot of Atlas titles, and I found out that was an EU only sale, and I was like, oh,
that's what it was. Because that shit was like $2, $3. Like it was.
Yeah,
it was
like I was gonna
shit.
pick up like both Devil Survivors,
Yeah.
like pretty much everything, and like maybe just sell my physical versions.
Jesus.
But no, that did not happen. And naturally, Nintendo didn't slash a single one of their games,
Right.
not even to get any last minute sales.
That's damn shame.
Yeah. I mean, it tracks. Nintendo knows you'll pay full price for their video games. I did true up a couple of my virtual console selections, just because I know a lot of them will probably be available on the Switch Online offerings, but catch me why I feel like the 3DS is the last true portable console, which technically is not correct, but in my eyes, it's correct. Don't worry about it. Just having those games available on 3DS was important to me. So
Understandable. Asher, I believe you have some things to plug.
Yes, so you can follow me on stream where I play Paranormasight and hopefully other wacky-do fun games. That's twitch.tv/Pinoy Grigio, P1NOY_GRIGIO. You can also find me on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter. And I also now host the JSB Anime Cast, which is like a book club style anime podcast where you could also see Zen on that one and our friend Jenny. And it's certainly a wacky time. So tune in for that.
Hell yeah. Tune in for that. Tune in for this episode that just released as you guys are hearing this. Because it is a good time, y'all. It is a great time. Do they like Noragami? You'll have to find out. You'll have to find out. The answer may surprise you. You can find me on Twitter at Zenosuke, ZNOSUKE, where I tweet a lot of anime stuff, a lot of video game stuff. I retweet art all the time. And over the next couple of days, I'll just be posting a lot of PAX swag as I unpack these massive bags. So with that, thank you guys for being here.